Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for our live tonight. So the topic today is very interesting because we will be talking about parenting, trauma, stress, and care. So joining us tonight is the founder of Puraha Mastery, Coach SJ. So he is very well experienced in trauma coaching, trauma management, emotional mastery. Maybe I'll get this time for him to tell more about himself. SJ.
Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here for today, and thank you very much for all this for today's opportunity, especially on this very sensitive topic. Okay, as Dr. Siti said just now, my background is on molecular biology and genetics, and I like to study about brain mechanisms. So this led me later on to be very interested in becoming a coach. Uh, there are other factors that they come around that push me into this path, but it's path that I have always benefited, learned, and grow by helping others resolve their traumas. So especially the topic of people who have gone through traumatic events and at the same time are parents is what I can say is both sensitive, personal, and very challenging topic to navigate because it has a lot of privacy issue involved. So I hope today I'll be able to share as much as possible and bringing clarity to a lot of different points that can help you and me also because I'm also a parent uh, to grow and become better as parent.
Thank you, SJ. Okay, maybe just a background how I know SJ. I was in as I started thinking. I'm very curious about how we can help parents to navigate parenting as well as supporting their child. So my experience as an educator, when I interact with parents, I do have parents who have gone through a lot of challenges in their life, and not being able to support the child, um, in many aspects, whether it's emotional aspect, whether it's um, spiritual aspects, because they have things that have gone through in their life that they could not get out of. So sometimes when they are parenting their child, so their immediate response to the child action is to react through scolding, right? So how do you, from your background of coaching adults, and now you're collaborating with me to also help the parents of my students, how do you, what are the experience that you have gone through in for them to be able to navigate their own trauma as an adult?
Yeah, so the very first thing before I go straight to your question on how I help them to navigate is very important for a lot of people to understand what is trauma first and what is stress. And from there, then we will understand better on the strategies that I will be trying to share. So I will start from the angle where I want to a little bit share from the trauma and stress. And whoever is live now, please, you can drop down any question and then we'll try to find a point where we'll be able to answer. As long as the question deal with the trauma and parenting, we'll be able to try to address as much as possible so that this will become a very interactive thing because one thing we know about trauma, we can define nowadays. Trauma has been given different names. Everyone they will use the word trauma very lightly. You may say something, and then someone will just maybe social media they put a comment. You have traumatized me already. But so we are down regulating it in the sense of severity of it. So most people, they don't see the real impact of it, and then we take trauma as a small thing. But how in practice we define trauma by certain number of things. First, we say a trauma is something that will overwhelm ability of someone to cope. So is an event or an emotion that will overwhelm the system to cope. Another thing, it will cause the feeling of helplessness, and it will diminish the sense of self. So, and also it's important to understand that the trauma itself is not the event, but in the reaction to the event that it happened. So it might be a very big event, or it might be a very small event. So in the sense of child parent interaction, you may see, like, for example, you say they react by, for example, scolding. You may see like, okay, I'm trying to discipline my child, but in fact, if this child react in the way that they feel overwhelmed, helpless, their inability to cope, it causes trauma into them. You know, so you may find someone. I had some of my clients and say, I have never experienced trauma from my parents, but once you start taking them into the process, you understand there are certain events now they define them as discipline, but when they were a child, the body interpret them as trauma, and then because it has all this definition of trauma. And when we talk about stress, is the repetitive events that uh, the, we say it causes imbalances inside the body of a person. So, for example, we generally say today we have this social media derived stress, for example, okay, which also really affect the way how we interact with our children. So, saying that, in my experience, the very first thing, generally, how we really help people to help start resolving themselves is, uh, the very first thing is to go into recognition, because most of people, they don't recognize that either they have the trauma, or the thing they're doing, it causes trauma to their children. So the very first step is recognition, because we say always awareness precedes change. If you're not aware, you'll not be able to change. So unless someone can recognize and accept, like, I have to change, this is not the correct way, it will be so difficult. Whatever stress technique I will teach him, or her, it will be almost difficult for them to change. That one thing. The second thing, this is my personal approach. I will help them to process and refiling this thing better. So in your brain, once this thing, whether when you are overwhelmed, or you are helpless, or you less the sense of self, uh, your neural system will bypass the normal way of registering information. So we use certain techniques, especially in NLP and sometimes hypnosis, to revisit those moments so that you can come and re-register the event, so that you lower the threshold of the effect it provided to you. So this is the second step I will help them. The third one is, I call it SEA, is this is between them to their children. C, where they can develop a positive parent-child relationship. And S, which means share your experience. Okay, your children, they like to cope from you. So when you share the experience, the vulnerability of them, your vulnerable side. Okay, so for example, you yell at your children, your child. At the same time, you come and then admit, oh, that was not right of me. I was just overwhelmed. Okay, it shouldn't be that way. So I'm sorry. And then maybe I was stressed at work. So sorry for doing that. I can do it better. Okay,
Mm.
even myself, I'm coming from African background. That's thing it cannot done. I had to train myself to do that. I'm there. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying as much as possible to say sorry whenever I lose my thing, because we all lose our. We have sometimes we lose
Oh,
it. So
yeah,
this is the
yeah.
very thing. The second thing, encourage expressions. Okay. So once you start expressing, you share your feeling, you encourage your child also to share their feelings with you. So when they're upset at you, let them tell you that they're upset. It will not be easy for the very first time your child is telling you, I'm upset at you. Okay, I remember some experience where my child told me, I'm angry at you. You don't feel it very well inside, but after some time, they learn that there is a safety environment where they can express themselves. And the third thing is active listening, which is ability to listen beyond just listening. So a lot of parents will just listen in the superficial. So this is a very quick way out. If with the three-stage process, this is how I will let's recognize, resolve your issues inside you. That means you have to go through the process. This is for people who came to me. If you don't have a coach, there are another techniques like somatic experiencing, where you do somatic walks, different exercises that helps you to really remove that the somatic walk. There is fascia massage, like a deep fascia massage, which will help to release some of the trauma involved in embodied movements like yoga. Okay, so we know yoga can really help. And another thing that you can do by yourself that most people they don't explore a lot is running. Okay, so running can really help people to resolve their trauma, especially high intensity running, where you run at a certain moment at speed and then you reduce it at a certain moment. You increase, you reduce, you increase, you reduce. Your body will go into stresses that will activate some certain mechanisms that will help you to heal. So these are some of the techniques you can use. And the third thing is to be to build a positive parent-child relationship.
Okay, can you elaborate more about the positive parent-child relationship?
Yes, I can. So, positive parent-child relationship is a big term. So, I just gave three strategies. Another thing, if I want to expand, it go into what we call parental attunement. Okay, so the ability of parents to attune to the emotions of a child and the ability of a child to attune to the emotional state of a parent. So this it developed from very early on, from the time for mother and for women, they develop this relationship very early on in their lives. You know, since the conception, the very first cell it formed, parental attunement is formed. You establish the bond, you start attachment. As you grow up, you are becoming better and better in becoming attuned to your child's emotions. Some people they'll call it a mother's instinct. Okay, your child cry exactly, you know what they want. You know, so this is looking beyond what is in the cry. So and this ability is very impaired in people who have experienced trauma, parents who have experienced trauma, or the parents who have conflicts between themselves. So you find like, because a lot of other triggers they mask the ability of a mother or a father to become a really parent. So when a child is crying, it triggers some certain emotions inside them. Instead of being attuned to them, it become irritating. You know, so you find you go into a completely different way. For example, let's give an example into a form of stress. You're from
Mm.
work, your boss has stressed you so much. Okay, you have a lot of maybe KPIs to finish, or you have a lot of deadlines to finish. Maybe you're a former teacher, you have a lot of other children to take care of. You come home, your child needs your attention. Maybe someone has has caused some misunderstanding in school. Okay, someone disturbed her. Maybe they had a fight at school. So they want you to be there and to listen to you, but your mind is not there. So they try to tell you their problems. You're not able to really able to really understand and relate to the situation because your own situation is already overwhelming inside yourself. So your
mm,
inability to attune to the needs of your child at that moment. What happens is, instead of addressing the issues of your child, what we generally say is, I don't think I need to rest now. I have headache. I need to rest. You just want your space. But at the same time, the first one, the child may understand. But if they become repeating and repeating, you're creating a distance between you where the child felt not understood or not cared or is not safe enough to express their feeling. They go into a shutdown. They don't
mm.
express anymore. Okay, and then you just find you grow apart. So attunement is gone. So this is one thing of a positive parental relationship, how we can develop it. Another thing
Mm.
is uh, not only understanding the verbal communication they talk, is to understand that children's behavior is the way they communicate, especially below the age of 7. Generally they communicate through behaviors. So one way we are conditioned into different culture, for example, is when child throw tantrums, you shouldn't let them in. You know, you should be a little bit hard on them so that they don't throw a tantrum behind there. So this is what we call, you're not really understanding uh, what is behind that tantrum. Not all
Mm.
tantrums misbehaviors. Some of them is just a seeking for attention. So if you are able to understand your child better, and then if that tantrum is really the seeking of attention, you find yourself, you grow closer, and then you create a better relationship between them. But
Mm.
if you are not really reading their behaviors and understanding their behavior, what will happen is this child will grow apart and apart from you. So this is another thing. And the third thing, like generally positive parent-child relationship, is about awareness and positive boundaries. Okay, even we say like you have to be attuned. At the same time, your child need to understand what is the correct time, what the
Yeah.
their boundaries and your
Mm.
boundaries. So, for example, we know in certain situation, for example, you have a Zoom meeting. Okay, you have important Zoom meeting, and your child need to understand that this is time is not the correct time for me to express myself. I should wait until my mother or father finish. After that, I will go and then present my situation there. So
Mm.
all these levels of developing different relationship where everyone understands what they have to do into different situation, collectively is what you can say positive parent uh, child relationship.
Yeah, I like the how you put it in terms of the SEA, right? So I
Yeah,
think
see.
self awareness is something that I think for most of us or some of us will find difficulty in finding because it's not natural for us to be self-aware of the things that is happening. And I do have friends who also share the same thing, like how do you tell yourself that, okay, I just need a break? Because I do have female or mother friends who just take a break in the toilet, just to
Mm,
have that break before I meet my children. I just go to the toilet, but I'll just sit in the toilet just to calm yourself down, before the motherly responsibilities take over. Because you
mm,
just come back from work, you just need a break. So once you like come back from work, your children will be running to you, and then you just don't have that break yet. So you find a break in the toilet, right? So this is
yes.
something that I think the challenges of parents nowadays, where they have more than one role. So they are not just a mother, but they're also a working mother. So they're not just
Hmm.
a father, but they also, so nowadays we hear of father who are very involved, right? Like yourself, very hands-on and all that. So we have parents who are struggling these various roles. So what do you think would be an effective strategy for parents to, besides being self-aware, what are the
Hmm.
effective strategy that they can use to, like, maybe meditation or something that can calm themselves, or self-talk, that can help them to be able to manage themselves first before they can manage their children.
Yes, that's very interesting question, because you cannot give from an empty cup, right? Yeah, so you have to make your cup fill before you fill another person's cup,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is a very broad question, and it doesn't only start at home. So what I have seen is most people, they give 120% at work, and then they go home, they have already in their reserve is zero. So you have to manage your work in such a way that you know that there is someone is waiting at home. Okay, so uh, what we I forgot who said this. They say marriage is not 50-50. Okay, never consider marriage as 50-50. Marriage is the ability to read from your partner that, okay, my partner today is 20, so you give 180. And you read that, okay, today for example, you read the situation, my husband today maybe is 120. Oh, I can just take maybe 80, or my wife today is already maybe at 20, so I can give 80 extra. So is the ability to change these roles so that you are filling in one another in such a way that the children really doesn't really feel the gap of attachment, which is very important for them in their development journey, because whether we want or not, the modern day family dynamics, it forces people to, especially in this part of the world, it forces people to uh, work hard. The both parent must work to sustain a lot of different spheres of life for their children. So that's one thing. So if you are in unable first to find this time, like this is the time I have to fill in, you'll not as one parent be able to distinguish, okay, this is my me time, or this is my wife me time, or my husband me time. So that's the very first thing. Secondly, what I like to advise people is just be open. You don't have to, you must have a positive communication between you and your partner, I guess. So if you really need a time off, you take it. For me, I like to run. So my Saturday morning is running. So this is the time I will be doing my me time where I can do. So other strategies you can really do is, for example, meditation. Okay, some people they find meditation helpful to them. Another thing is affirmations, for example. You do morning and evening affirmations that you're okay, like you're a good parent, like you do your best to make sure that your children do. Sometimes you'll make mistakes, but no matter what, you correct those mistakes and then you'll try to do better because no one can do it 100%. Okay, we train people and then you may teach someone strategies. Tomorrow you repeat the same mistake. You have taught someone not to do it yesterday, so that is the dynamic of parenting. But the important thing is the next day is you become better and better and better. If you see me as parents 5 years ago, you'll not you'll understand I was completely different person
Mm-hmm.
as I am today because I'm trying to become better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways you can do these exercises. My favorite one, I like to do tapping, for example. Uh, I do tapping because it reduces my stress level. Okay, another thing I like to do what we call in somatic psychotherapy, they call it connecting heart energies from the left and right. So we put the hands together and then you close your eyes and then take deep breath, and then you're assuming the energy from your heart is circulating from left to right, where it balances each and everything. So it's about the visualization. It's a long process. It starts with the heart, where you circulate the energy, and then you find yourself calmer and calmer. Another thing I really like, so especially for example for parents who just come home, is deep uh, fascia massage on your face. So you have some muscles below here.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, most people, we say a lot of people they don't really explore their face. This is one thing we find. You can put makeup and everything, but no one have ever explored their faces. So one of the thing we it really help if you can start doing is really exploring different muscles on the face. There is this one of the early theories of trauma is people with trauma, they have a narrow vision.
Mm.
You are not able to generally we can see up to 160-degree, but the people with trauma they go 120, so the only thing they see is in front, you know. And this, it has a literal meaning, and it has a psychological meaning, and it has a physiological meaning. Literal meaning that people with the trauma they try to avoid every trigger, so they just focus with something that is in front of them.
Mm.
But in a psychological meaning, it means that your field of vision, in physiological meaning, your field of vision narrows. So you just focus with something that is in front of you. So you get very easily stressed. So in somatic psychotherapy, one of the things we try to do is we will try to, the eyeball has four fascia muscles. So you can press them by placing your fingers, for example, inside. You will press them until you start feeling the pressure coming out. There is another one just below here. You can place
Mm.
them, and you just, and then another one is in front here. Then you can just place here. So you can do this slowly, slowly. Interesting, you start seeing your field of vision increase. And as your
Mm.
field of vision increase, you start seeing things in different ways. So for example, your child running towards you, instead of seeing them as stress, you find them as joy. So the difference of someone who hide in the toilet and someone go to their children is just how they perceive them.
Yeah.
You know, so if you are able to change this perception, is better. Another thing that we find helps in this, this one is generally painful. So you take your three fingers and then you'll press them deep, and
Mm-hmm.
then press. Just press D in. You'll start feeling the pain. General
Yeah.
pain, it can in, and then it can trigger some emotion. So you just hold. You just have to accept and then just let go. You do more and more, you find yourself more expressive and more in ability to really approach different situation much and much better. So these small techniques, exercises will help you. There are different other parts of the body that you can really help according
Mm.
to different. There's diaphragm also. Okay, so the ability to take your fingers and then you press deeply. This is diaphragm side. So you press deep and then you breathe. It's very painful if you have stored trauma. There is we call the hip muscles between where your femur, the thigh bone, meet your
Yeah.
triangle of your body. So if I don't
Yeah.
use medical, the triangle, the muscle there, if you have stored trauma, it will be very painful. Okay, for most people, if you press it,
Mm.
you know. So all these ones you will be. So you just press small. You can allow someone to just tap. Like generally, the Swedish people will do this after people they give birth. They'll be tapping that every day to release the trauma caused by carrying the baby. You know, so it's just tapping those muscles around
Oh.
until you release. I learned this from Swedish person that they will release it. So if you do it long enough, it'll start pain and then pain come down and come down. And in the extension of that, you can do things. For example, I know they work very well. Acupuncture, for example, acupuncture helps a lot. If you are not able to really, if you're not ready to see someone to release your trauma, to help you process your trauma, acupuncture will really help. Reflexology, like reflexology helps, like which you can do self-reflexology. You know, you just go there, take some essential oil, and then you can use aromatherapy. Okay,
Mm.
so all those things can really help a person. And another thing that is very common in this part is massage. Like just massage helps to relax you, but we know
Mm.
massage doesn't really help to heal the trauma, but it can calm the nervous system, where it can
Mm.
give you the ability to move forward to the next step in your
Mm.
life.
Mm. I think that was wonderful, like in terms of the things that we could do. Thank you for affirming that massages works. I
The
think for
works.
Someone who, who loves to go for massages. Yeah, thank you very much. Feel like to relieve your trauma. But I think it's also important, like what you said, in totality, the concept of self-care of parents. So sometimes parents are too much into caring the people around them, caring their whether it's children, husband, or sometimes they live with the extended family, so the parents as well. So you put a lot of responsibility on the shoulders, that I think the person or the concept of the caregiver, who went through themselves, gone through a lot of responsibility, and they are not taking care of themselves first. So thank you, SJ, for actually affirming that it's the importance of self-care, the importance of filling your emotional cup first before you're able to fill up others, right? Maybe
Yes.
we could also move to another topic of how how do you differentiate, in terms of like, because just now you highlight a little bit about the difference between trauma and stress. um,
Yes.
but how can you make it more explicit, maybe, like in terms of like for a father who's taking care of, let's say, a single father, right, who doesn't
Mm.
have a wife, so he is also the breadwinner. So
Okay.
when you differentiate, stress would be stress at work, but how do you think eventually it will lead to trauma, and how then eventually it will impact the life beyond what they are doing currently?
Yeah. So when we talk of stress, we are just referring to the body's response to any demand or challenge. So
Mm,
generally, we say stress, it can be positive, or
yep.
where it can help you to motivate a person to perform well, or it can become a distress, which is negative when you perceive a threat or pressure, and it can be harmful over time. And generally, the short term stress is motivating in nature, so it doesn't have a so big problem. But chronic stress, it can cause mental health issues. It can include cardiovascular diseases. It can cause anxieties, depression, and even weaken immune system. Uh, when you see between trauma and stress, stress reaction are more about coping with pressure and demand rather than healing from a deep psychological wounds. So stress generally is where it starts. After sometimes when you spend so long time in the cycle of different stress, the coping is lost. Once you start coping, once you start losing coping mechanism, you start losing your sense of self, and then you find yourself helpless, that the trauma start to form. So the dynamics is and this is very interesting point. Okay, I was talking to one person last week, and then this idea of stress in this modern world, uh, it came into conversations. So if we go into our brain development, our brain,
Mm,
it has a billion years of evolutions. So until today, if we look on our what we call reptilian brain, our survival mechanism is to run away from danger. Okay, but
yeah.
technology has developed so fast such that our brain cannot cope with the evolutions. So, for
Mm,
example, you go into a phone, you get a lot of news. Okay, how many people have been killed, for example, in this situation currently.
yeah.
Okay, how many people have been killed in Gaza, how many people, this person is starving in this part of the world, this person is doing this person have better life than you, this person had this. So all this
Yeah.
one, they come inside of you. This person perform better, this person can run better, this person has BMW, this person has a better husband,
Yeah.
this person's husband helped them at home, while my husband doesn't, just play video game. All these things, they activate our stress coping mechanisms, just like you become overwhelmed. Okay,
Mm,
so what will happen is your immune system will go low. once your immune system, you start getting sick and sick and sick, and then your ability to take care of the people around you is gone. You're going to withdraw. So the
Hmm.
parents give an example of a single father. If they don't have a support system that can really help them, and it doesn't matter where the support comes. It can come from grandmother, it can come from aunt, it can come from wherever. Certain time, these people they need to dissociate because naturally we are communal in nature.
Hmm.
So whenever we study the studies about parenting come, we always find the what we call a standard to compare. And until today, we are still using hunter-gatherer societies as a gold standard for comparison of our parenting styles. And currently in the world, there are only three tribes left. One is in Brazil, another one is in Tanzania, the Hadzabes, and I think another one also is in Kalahari Desert. So they're still there. And what you find them, once a child is born, it's not a single baby's person. The community, all of them, go together and raise that child. So what you find, the parents in those societies, they don't become overwhelmed
Hmm.
with the situation around their children, and generally once they follow them, you find like uh, the parents, they don't shout, always children are being taken care of, no one, there is no corporal punishment on those societies. But as the society become more individualistic, you find parents becoming more stressed and stressed. And
Hmm.
when you come to the modern, the single parents, they even have a very difficult life because they have to deal with A to Z by themselves. So the very
Yeah.
first thing I can advise is to just find better support. Ask,
Hmm.
okay? Ask,
Ask
okay?
for
Ask.
help, right? Ask for help. Yeah.
You don't have to take everything on yourself. Okay, I'm trying. All of us, some of us, we are not good at asking help. Naturally, we are not good at it. Okay, so the very first thing is to go from your comfort zone and then just ask for help. Okay, please help me. I need this time off. So that you can recharge, so that you can come back better. So this is number one thing I can say for
Hmm.
anyone, especially for single parents, is to ask for help, ask for help,
Yeah.
ask for help. You know,
But I think like in our culture, SJ, like asking for help is a sign of weakness, right? So because you are not used to, like asking for help means I'm not a good mother, or asking for help is I'm not a good father. So how do we get out of that, so that we able to ask for help and then, be more supported in that sense? What do you think?
yeah. So if I am correct, I think we have to just change the perspective of it. There are a lot of culture they can ask for help. For example, my culture, uh, people they ask for help even for 1 month.
Hmm.
it, we grew up in an environment where during holiday we are sent to our grandmother since we are 7 or what, and then we'll
Hmm.
stay with my grandmothers for 1 month. Where my father mother they'll be just be alone at home. Sometimes no child, no what for 1 month. So they get this time to recharge themselves. Okay, so we grew up similar in this type of environment, but this is what makes you a better as person. So the very first thing is to change the perspective of it. It's not about weakness, it's about recharging and becoming better as a person. So do you want to yell at your child because you don't have anything to give, or you want to be that parent that you can listen to the needs of your child and fulfill them both emotionally, physically, and spiritually?
Hmm.
So if you understand your weakness, you can find a way to supplement your weakness. But if you hide your weakness, what you find is like you're going into a spiral where you're just going deeper and deeper and deeper in such a way that you are not able to come back up. And then when you want to come, it's too late. You have caused a very big rift between you and your children where they cannot come and connect to you anymore. We in therapy we see a lot of different a lot of these examples. Like someone come to you is just the issue with their father, you know. That's the issue. And if you ask the father, no, I was just trying to. Okay, so this is a very common thing. The child will say, I just wanted you here. So, for example, we try sometimes to mediate between parents, and then the child will say, I just wanted you to be there.
Mm.
And single fathers will say, how can I be there? Because I want to find the food for you. I want to send you to school. I want to do that. So there are different needs and different responsibilities.
Mm.
But if we are able to, uh, sometimes it's difficult, but the best thing is to be able to find a help. And you may find that we know this, there are studies has been done. If there is a community-based system where this child, for example, there are someone, aunts, uncles that are able to help around. Generally, these
Mm.
children they will not develop any issues when they grow up, you know, or this rift will not be really perceived between parents and children. So
Mm. So
this
the
is
concept of the concept of community that you mentioned is very important, right? For a child to
yes
not I mean there's a saying of it takes a village, right, to raise a child.
to
I think
raise a child.
really it's really apt. I mean, in the sense that sometimes with the demands of work, expectations, from all sorts, right? Whether it's your society, whether it's your environment that you are in, it causes the parents to not be able to press the pause button physically,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
the importance of asking for help. That's one. I think second would be being aware. That's the second one. And then I think also the concept of self-care. I think we you have mentioned three important points that at least
Hmm.
we can get our audience to take away, so that in order for you to be a better parent, you have to take care of yourself first. um,
Yes.
I think I'm also want to get into the topic of trauma in attachment trauma, you call it, right?
Hmm.
We can share a little bit about how trauma during attachment can causes significant impact to the growth of the children.
Okay, so when we talk about attachment, we say when the leading researchers in attachment, they believe now everyone we carry attachment trauma. It's like almost 99.99% of all people currently we carry attachment trauma. We just do not understand it. So, for example, one of the signs that we say, if you want to know that you carry attachment trauma, is someone can try to explain something to you in a plain English or in a plain language, and then you don't understand what they're saying.
Mm,
You know, generally it's not because you not understand, because your nervous system it perceive that that is not safe. Okay, we haven't learned how to attach to that kind of concept, so we don't want to understand it. You know, so
mm,
this is one of the ideas. So attachment trauma first, how does it develop? So there are different stages according to the needs of nervous system. It starts from the very first day you were born, you are conceived. Not only there, from the event of you being conceived, attachment is being formed. Uh,
mm,
so I know most people they may not understand this, but we say even the intention between the husband and wife on conceiving a child. Did the child was the child being conceived out of the free will or was it an accident? You know, this also will cause the attachment style of a child. So after that, if it was formed of free will, the mother maybe the very first 3 months, the mother was very comfortable enjoying the pregnancy, or they have the very bad morning sickness until they wish I don't want to have this pregnancy anymore. This also will affect the attachment between
mm,
them and the child. Some of them will go through those events and then still have that baby inside of them. Some of them, they wish they don't want it. So the wish of it, it will affect your relationship between you and the child inside. There is a period after 4 months where the baby is growing, started the brain developing and everything. So there are certain hormones are produced. It's just like they are communicating between your body and the baby. Okay, so the baby sending hormones to you, and am I safe? And then the mother send back hormones, yes, you are safe. So if, for example, they have issues between husband and wife, and then the, there is no safety between it, the baby will send, the mother will be sending hormone that we are not safe, and then this child start developing trauma before they were born. After they were born, also the style they're being carried. So, for example, we call the attachment develop on the how you carry their spine. Okay, so the supportive way. Like we know, like most of first children, they will develop attachment issues because the parents really don't know how to carry their children very well. Okay, so but the second, third, the last child generally they're very emotionally stable because the parents they have grown so much, they almost know everything. It's just like the child come, they have everything. So you give all the needs of nervous system. So this is the very first one, the very first level, in the physiological level, on how you and your child interact from the time before they're conceived until they grow up. This is how you develop attachment. And lack thereof, another one of very common thing I just learned. I practiced it to some of my children. I just learned from one of the professors that causes attachment issues, and then I'm trying to clear it now to my children. The crib issues. So, for example, a baby on the bed start crying, okay, crying and crying and crying. This baby maybe is just 3 months old. They're
Mm.
crying, but you're so occupied, you don't give the attention to the baby. So when you compare this one to these hunter gatherers, they don't allow their children to cry. Previously, we say because they live in the jungles, they're scared to activate animals to come to them and then they get harmed. But what you
Mm.
find is they provide a sense of safety and being cared to their children when they cry. So they become emotionally stable. But when we sense, okay, this baby is just in crib, will not fall down, most
Yeah.
parents will, okay, I just need to finish this 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, this child has gone through the full range of emotions, because before the age of 2, children, they don't have what we call cognitive ability, they just have emotional ability. So they
Mm.
cry 1 minute, I'm not hurt. They cry some more, they become anxious, fearful. Later on, they start to be
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
So it develop all range of these issues. And these children, you find generally is very easy to spot this. You'll see like they have this fear inside of them. You may just try to raise your hand and then they're scared. you know
Yeah.
if you are not someone who likes to do this kind of thing, okay, you may call them and then they're just frightened, you know
Mm.
no apparent reason, they just get frightened. So these things will cause all these attachment issues. So one by one, uh, we try later on, once you understand the effect you have. Sometimes we say my child is very independent. Okay, my child has become independent, 1 month old, can just sleep on themselves. Okay, and then they continue forward. And another thing that I think no one have proven it, but I think it causes attachment issues is pacifiers. Like children who use pacifier because they learn to pacify themselves instead
Yeah.
of of having someone to have what we call co-regulations of nervous system. So when a child cries and then the mother carries, there is a communication between them, emotional communication, where the
Yeah.
mother tries to calm the baby will co-regulate the mother at the same time, and the mother will co-regulate. After that, they reach a state where they all support one another, and then they go. But with pacifier, what happens? The baby start crying, the mother take pacifier, they put there is no skin
Yeah.
contact, there is no regulation. This child later on they become very difficult in expressing themselves.
Hmm.
You know,
Is
become
it
very super difficult.
the same for children who thumb sucking because they want
Yes,
to prove themselves, right?
yeah, we call generally the children who thumb sucking, they experience a lot of anxiety when they're a child and fearful moments. This the Japanese explanation. The early Japanese, they say children who has fear, they generally tend to suck their thumbs. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's a sign that they get frightened a lot when they were young, so they take to fool themselves by their thumbs.
Yeah.
And if
So
they
how?
suck these two, is about anger and sadness. This Japanese explanation. Some children you find they will suck these two, some will suck this one. So those who suck these two generate the anger and sadness, and those who suck this one is about fear and anxiety.
How do you help children who thumb sucking or pacifier reliant?
So the very first thing is to what we say you have to really uh, go and help their nervous system find calm and really reintegrate. We call reparenting the nervous system. So, for
Mm,
example, one of the things is the long hugs really helps because these
mm,
people they used to pacify themselves. The moment you stop their pacifiers, they become very anxious because
mm,
the self-regulation mechanism they know is on the pacifiers on thumb cycling. So the moment you stop them, you have to teach them an alternative self-regulating mechanism,
yeah.
okay, for them to really be helped. So you have to be there and then reparent them again. So for example, one of the very best thing is just give them long hugs. You find like sometimes they'll feel awkward, okay? It's like not there, but they'll not let go.
Mm,
To you. So currently, I started practicing it. I will hug them until they're really satisfied. They let go by themselves.
yeah.
So that to take care of anything that maybe it has happened before. So I'll just give a hug, a long hug. Okay, that's one. Another thing that really helps, we say tickling, touch. Touch really helps for children who have these issues. So like you can father mother they can try to tickle their children, generate children they enjoy it, okay, make them laugh, okay, funny faces, okay, clown faces, they really helps to really to these children to really integrate the thing that they have lost because with pacifier for example and something they don't really have face constant facial what we call facial recognitions because for them they look they find a thing so they don't try to imitate or the coping mechanism from their parents because they have attached the coping mechanism in something else.
Mm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that is very interesting. Like for us to be aware of the needs of the child. So sometimes they find it, they thought that pacifier would help, but actually it has um, side effects or the effects of it that they didn't realize that actually due to fear or over reliance to objects, right? Because in psychology,
Hmm.
it's part of behaviorism, right? Where you are
Yes.
just condition yourself to something else besides the parent because they have experienced some form of neglect that they have relied transfer the attachment to something else, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, yeah.
Inanimate thing that is generally not constant.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the thing is that is inanimate thing. It doesn't have emotions to give back. So the children cannot co-regulate.
Yes.
So the attachment is lost.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
actually, once I learned this, I did not give pacifier to my children anymore. Yeah.
When did
So
you learn that?
uh, after my second child, my first child did not accept pacifier. My second child used to love pacifier. Uh, but after that, I I I I stopped after my
Mm,
1 year old. I stopped, and then I didn't give it anymore after I understand the
mm,
the the impact that they can cause, and I did not give to my children
yeah.
anymore. Yeah,
Yeah, we all learn, right, as we grow to
yeah.
be
It's
parents.
difficult. Yes, it's difficult, but uh, for the better of the childrens. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's difficult generally to a child will be crying and crying and crying, needing your more attention, more attention. more attention,
mm,
but it's for their betterment. And when you find the expressive ability of the children that have a use pacifier, you'll be
mm,
surprised how well they can express themselves. They don't go into stumbles. They can really, they don't
mm.
stutter themselves. They can really express fully with no issues at very young age.
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, the bigger part of it is due to lack of fear, right? So they begin to have that confidence to express themselves better. Thank you, SJ, so much for tonight. I think we have learned a lot about self care and techniques to be able to self manage ourselves and how we can communicate better with our children. Is there anything else that you would like to also share before we end the session?
Yes, if I want to say, I'll just want to touch one more point.
Mm,
This we talk about trauma, but it's all about what we call now. There is new concept we call trauma informed parenting,
mm,
which is very interesting point. Uh, and trauma informed parenting is not as conventional parenting. Is the way that you deal with empowerment, self-awareness, and understanding that there is something more than just behavioral issues. Okay, so it's not about free flow type of parenting, but is the ability to allow children to explore at the same time to guide them. Okay, and when they have issues, they can really express to you or to someone close openly without even thinking. I mean, you create a safety net where they can really express themselves very well. So this concept, it helps to really, especially very useful for parents with children with special needs, to really to really follow the principles of uh, trauma informed parenting. And currently, I think we have around 5 principles, if I'm not mistaken, uh, for trauma informed parenting. And the very first one is self awareness. Uh, that's the very first one. Secondly, understand instead of just assume like something
mm,
happened out of no reason.
mm,
Is understand. The
mm,
third one is empowerment. Okay, make sure that you allow the child to empower themselves. Okay, so the fourth one is to avoid overprotection. Okay, so trauma
mm,
informed. Yeah, so to be not overprotected. So the idea between overprotection is this: most parents who have experienced trauma in their childhood, they will become two. They become either they allow their children to become too free if that was restrictive, or they become very restrictive, you know,
mm,
or overly protective, not very strict, overly protective if their trauma took their innocence away. Okay,
mm,
so depending on their trauma. So trauma informed parenting is the ability to balance between these two, to allow children, to empower children to become expressive in the environment.
mm,
At the same time, not to allow them to have a total freedom that they do things without even understanding why they're doing, you know, to the point that they become disrespectful. So this is some of the principles of trauma informed parenting, to just find that balance. And the fifth one is understanding triggers and your emotional states. So
mm,
the parents need to understand when I get triggered, and if I get triggered, how do I proceed from here? And this also, they should understand also how my child get triggered and how I can proceed from here. This one, it works both ways, from parents to children, because I think this some parents, they'll think foster children, they come with other issues, a bag of emotions that they can apply them. So understanding their triggers are very important.
mm, mm. Can you repeat for us, SJ? First, self awareness. Second is,
self-awareness. Secondly, is okay. I will say uh, this first self-awareness. Second, not allowing your children to but to find a balance between being free
mm,
from parenting and become restrictive. Thirdly, understanding your triggers. Okay, this they can become anyhow. Okay, understanding your triggers and
mm,
understanding your child triggers. Uh, the another one is developing a safety net. Okay, safety, so environment safety, and the other one to understand that there is more than what is expressed in behaviors. Okay,
yeah,
so if there is a tantrum, that means maybe there is more in the tantrum than just the things you are seeing in front of you, or misbehavior,
yeah.
or everything is not just misbehavior. This is what we call principles in trauma informed parenting.
Mm.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, SJ, for tonight. I
safety,
think,
understanding trauma impact, uh,
yeah,
and empowerment. Empowerment also is very
empowerment,
important.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. So hopefully all these are good enough tips for parents to try, and maybe they could also let us know what they have tried and whether it works for their children as well. Thank you so much,
yeah.
SJ, for
Any
tonight.
question? No question, right? Okay.
No question. Yeah, so hopefully we can have perhaps another session on how you can use aromatherapy to actually help you to regulate your emotion better. Yeah, so maybe something that for us next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, SJ, for tonight. We'll see
Okay.
you
Thank
soon.
you for
Thank you,
inviting me.
everyone. Yeah,
Okay.
bye bye.